Hi everyone, I'm Miss Mark and welcome to a special unboxing video. So about a month and a half ago I ordered these White Knight paints and okay, technically they are Leningrad paints, but Leningrad and White Knights are both made by St. Petersburg, and as you'll see in a little bit, these are in fact White Knight paints. But anyway, I ordered these because I've been wanting to sort of up my watercolor game a little bit, and these seemed like a pretty affordable intro to higher quality paints. So just a quick note, when you get these, you definitely want to save these labels or copy down all the information, because these labels on each palette or each pan have light fastness ratings, opacity, and pigment information as well. So definitely save the labels. I felt pretty luxurious because they are full pans. I've never had full pans before. And just in case you were wondering, they do have the White Knight logo on the bottom and it says St. Petersburg, so for sure these are White Knight paints. Okay, so it was really fun to unwrap these because they're full pans and they just seem so giant. They're literally twice the size of my usual pan. A couple of them had this fine dust on them and I was a little worried about that, but after my first use, after I got them wet, that totally went away, and it definitely didn't affect the paint. And I did save every single label so I could record it in a separate sketchbook later. A quick note, what makes Leningrad a little bit cheaper than your typical White Knight is the box. It's just cardboard. So as you can see, it's flimsy, it's not reliable, it doesn't seal. So if you're going to travel with them, you want to get a separate watercolor palette like this. This is my Paul Rubens set. They're full pans, but they do fit in like they should. They're pretty standard. And what I actually ended up doing was I ordered another palette. And so for the money that I spent, I could have just ordered the White Knight set in a box, proper box. But no, that's okay. I got a really pretty meat-in one, and I got my White Knights. So, alright, so the first thing that I did was I swatched them, and I did not pre-wet these at all. They are completely dry, fresh out of the box. So all I did was I got my paintbrush wet and just stuck it in, and oh my gosh, these activated so quickly and they're so saturated straight from the pan. There was no like mashing my brush in there to try and get them to work. There was no like letting the paint soak. It just, oh man, these paints want to be on paper. The colors I was the most excited to try out from watching a bunch of videos, and I do mean a bunch of videos on YouTube, was the Emerald Green, the Madder, it's got a long name, the Madder Lake Red Light, and the Azure. From watching all the videos, those were three colors that I just had to have. I just needed them so bad. But what surprised me as I was swatching out were the colors that I got really excited about. So their Burnt Sienna and their English Red, which are technically neutrals, kind of sort of, they're brown. They were really rich and creamy, and I guess my other sets just maybe didn't have good pigments or something. I've never loved Burnt Sienna, but White Knight's Burnt Sienna is delicious. Visually speaking, I did not eat the Burnt Sienna. The other color was their Carmine, which is sort of a pinkish color. You'll see it down on the bottom here. That's just like, I was just all excited, like, ooh, I can't wait to use that paint. And just side note, this video actually, I filmed it like a month and a half ago, literally when I bought them. So I've used them for a while now, and since then, colors that I did not expect to love, that I do love now, are they are green and they're ultramarine, which I just doesn't usually make it into my palette. A color that did disappoint me a little bit, but maybe it's just the color, was the Cobalt, which is extremely transparent. And in my opinion, or not in my opinion, the way that I paint, I kind of like them to be semi-transparent. And Cobalt, it's just really weak. But that's kind of how it was in my Paul Rubens, so maybe that's just a Cobalt thing. Okay, here's the Burnt Sienna. Look how caramely it is. It's so rich. I use the Burnt Sienna a lot for mixing flesh tones, so to have a very rich version of it is helpful to me. Here's the Azure, Look at that. I use the azure so much. I can guarantee I'm going to run out of azure first out of all 24 of these colors. Side note about the azure colors. When I look at the actual label, it's got it in Russian, English, and German. If you translate the German title, it's not azure, it's phthalo blue light. So, apparently, I have discovered about myself, I like phthalo blue. Who knew? But they don't call it phthalo blue in English, they call it azure. But if anyone's curious, the actual pigment is PB15. So, there you go. Anyway, so after swatching these, before I started working on a finished painting, I decided to just sort of get familiar with them. So I did a couple color wheels, which with a set of this size isn't really necessary because you have all the paints you could possibly want, really, for a color wheel, but I mixed my own color wheels anyway. And then I just they just reacted so well to water. I just wanted to do some watery mixes on this page. It was so much fun. I know there's probably some more like scientific tests that I could do, like testing granulation and stuff, and that's fine, but I don't really know what I'm talking about when I discuss that, so this is me testing out techniques that I do use in my painting. So a lot of wet on wet and blending and stuff. So, alright, so here we go, actually testing it on a painting. Now, this painting isn't really my style, but I feel like my style, which is a lot more flat and kind of cartoonish almost, it doesn't actually show off the paints that well. I mean, if you know paints, you know that's kind of hard to get a flat wash, you know. But I wanted to do something with a little bit more looseness and expressiveness and kind of some blending and just kind of showing off the full range of what these colors could do. In case you're wondering, these are my comic characters, and they obligingly agreed to be my test subjects for these paints. On the left is General Dazer, and on the right is Commander Din from my webcomic Dazer and Eleanor. When I was painting these, all I knew was I for sure was going to use azure, and I think I ended up using the Matter Lake Red Light as well. I just knew for sure I was using azure though. I was just so freaking excited about that one. So as I was painting with these, one thing that I noticed was they layered really well. As soon as a layer was dried and I put something else on top of it, it just got more saturated and didn't lift too much unless I really tried. It didn't lift and it didn't dull. So when the colors dried, they weren't too far off from what they were when I put them down, which is a really helpful thing. If you guys have used like cheaper watercolors, you know when they dry, they tend to dull. So these colors didn't do that. They stay saturated, they stay rich. They lighten a little bit, but they don't really dull, which is great. It's okay if they lighten a little bit, I can always layer them, but if they turn dull, there's nothing you can do about that. So I did throw in the emerald green there in the background because I loved it. So, yeah. I fell in love with these. This was a very fun first experience with them, and I have been using them pretty much non-stop. I also wanted to include a illustration that was a little bit more my current style, which is, flatter and outlined in ink and stuff, and these paints passed with flying colors. So, if you're looking for a set to really learn a lot about watercolors with and something that won't get in your way, I highly recommend these. They're really good if you've decided watercolors is for you and you want to take your studies seriously. These paints will work with you instead of against you. There you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was at least somewhat informative, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!